Bezat Hashem Yitbarach. So we were saying yesterday how we were learning about the different types of the Bate Dinim, right? We had the Bedin of the 23, we had the Bedin of 3, 23, and of 71. Now we said in the beginning of the Mishnah, we said Dine Mamonot Bishlosha. We said that when we deal with Dine Mamonot, monetary manners, we have a Bedin of 3. And then the Mishnah goes on and says, Gezelot v'chavelot bishlosha. If it's going to be dinim, if it's going to be judgments about stealing or about physical damages, it's going to be also in a bedin of 3. So says the Gemara, Atu gizelot v'chavalot lav dine mamonot ninhu. Wait a second. Gizelot, stealing, and damages, physical damages, are also part of monetary manners, right? Why are they monetary manners?
Because you have to pay if you injured somebody or if you
exactly. So it's very simple, right? So why does the Mishnah split it into two different things? Amar Rabbi Abau says, Mahen katani. The Mishnah is trying to explain us what Dine Mamonot is. So what does that mean? The Mishnah says Dine Mamonot bishlosha. And then the Mishnah goes on to explain what are Dine Mamonot, Gezelot v'chavalot. Okay?
It's not a different group. It's just
it's explaining what that group is. Okay? Says the Gemara, Mahen Dine Mamonot, Gezelot v'chavalot. Aval hodaot v'halvaot lo. So he says, if you're telling me, the Mishnah is telling me that it's including Gezelot v'chavalot, and that's Dine Mamonot, what is it coming to exclude? Hodaot v'halvaot. That hodaot is if a person admits in front of witnesses that he owes a person money, or halvaot if a person admits, if a person admits, but if there's two witnesses for a loan, for those two cases you wouldn't need 3. It would be enough to have even less. Okay, v'tzricha. So why do we need to mention this? Says the Gemara, the itana dine mamonot. Because if it would just say Dine Mamonot and then it wouldn't go on to explain what Dine Mamonot are, Gizelot v'chavalot, Hava Mina, I would have thought, De'afilu hodaot v'halvaot. I would think that it comes to include hodaot v'halvaot. Tana, Gizelot v'chavalot. Therefore it included, or it said very specifically, Gizelot, stealing, and chavalot, damages. V'itana Gizelot v'chavalot. So says the Gemara, okay, great. But in that case, just say Gezelot v'chavalot. Why do you have to say Dine Mamonot and this? Right? If the Dine Mamonot is coming to tell you Gezelot and Chavalot, just say Gezelot v'chavalot and don't say Dine Mamonot. V'itana Gezelot v'chavalot v'lo katani Dine Mamonot. If it would have said only Gezelot v'chavalot and it wouldn't have said Dine Mamonot, Hava Amina, I would have thought, Hu hadin de'afilu hodaot v'halvaot. I would have thought that it would still include hodaot and hodaot and halvaot, meaning even if it would have said only dine mamonot, it wouldn't have said dine mamonot, and it would only say gezelot v'chavalot, I would still think that it would include the hodaot and halvaot. Why?
What do they have to do with each other?
So we'll see right now. V'hai dekatani gezelot v'chavalot mishum deikar shlosha diktivi b'gezelot v'chavalot ktivi. Okay, so I would think that. Listen, the only reason why we need 3, or where do we learn 3 from, more accurately? We learn it from the concept of Gezerot and Chavalot, right? So he says, the Ikal Gimel, Diktivi, Begzerot v'Chavalot Ketivi. The main concept of needing a Bedin of 3 is written by those things. Gezerot, where do we see that? By Gezerot it says, Gezerot Dichtiv, V'nikrav ba'al abayit el ha-Elohim. Over here, when it says El Ha-Elohim, right? Ha-Elohim is not referring to Hashem; it's referring to the judges. There's 3 pirushim for the word Elohim in the Torah. In the Torah, Elohim can mean either obviously Hakadosh Baruch Hu. It can mean
their gods.
No. It can mean judges, and it can mean malachim. Okay, it can mean angels. So when it says over here, "V'nikav ba'al habayit el ha-Elohim," he approaches the judges, right? We're talking about 3. By this is talking about by gezerot. Now, chavalot. chavalot. Where do we see chavalot from? Mali chaval.
How do we say that it's 3?
Because when we say ha-Elohim, it's referring to judges, right?
Okay.
When we say judges, we learned a little bit this concept before. It can't be one judge, correct? And it can be 2 judges. Why can't it be 2 judges? Because then it's an even number, right? So it has to be a minimum of 3. So when it says v'nika b'rabayit el Elohim, right? So it's talking about 3. So we see over here that we have 3 judges. Now, it says the Gemara, okay, that's great. We see the concept of 3 by Gizela. Because this pasuk is talking about Gizela. It says, Im lo imatzeh haganav, right? V'nikav ba'al habayit el ha'elohim im lo shalach yado b'mlechet re'ehu. Right? Pasuk in Shemot. Now, how do we know chavalot? How do we know chavalot that it's going to be also needing 3? So he says, Mali chaval begufo, Mali chaval b'mamono. What difference would it make if a person damages a body, right? Or if a person damages money, right? We know that with monetary damages, he has to pay it, right? And he has to go to the judges. So the same way, okay, the same way that he's going to have to, pay for monetary damages, right? And it's going to have to go through a bedin. He's also going to have to go through the same thing for chavalot, which is bodily damage. Okay, you guys are with me?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, okay. Why are they separating it into 2?
Separating what into 2?
The chavalot.
On the contrary, we're saying that it's not separated into 2. We're saying that it fits into the category of monetary damages, which you're going to need to have a bedin as well. Okay, so basically, what the Gemara was accomplishing right now, the Gemara was saying that if we only say gizelot and chavalot, I would still possibly learn hodaot and halvaot. Why? Because I would think that the only reason why the Mishnah said those 2 cases was because those 2 cases are the cases that we see explicitly that you need 3 judges. And I wouldn't know to exclude hodaot and halvaot. But from the fact that it says dine mamonot bishlosha and then gizelot v'chavalot bishlosha, now I know to make the differentiation that only gizelot and chavalot are shlosha, but hodaot and halvaot will be even by less.
Will be even by less.
Yeah.
So 1.
Yeah, but it should also, when you say dine mamonot, you could also think that it's part of halvaot. No, you deal with money.
That's exactly what our problem is. We don't want to say, we don't want to need 3 for halvaot and hodaot.
Yeah, but when you say dine mamonot, how are you concluding that you don't need?
No, that's why it says dine mamonot ve'gezerot ve'chavalot, so that it doesn't include the
Otherwise, they would have said have halvaot ve.
Or maybe they wouldn't have said anything, and that would have included everything. But here, he
because they're pointing it out. So okay.
So that's what the Gemara is accomplishing at this point. The Gemara is basically saying like this. Why did we started from the beginning of the Gemara, right? The beginning of the Gemara, the first question of the Gemara was what? Wait a second. We have dine mamonot.
Why do you have to say also chavalot?
Why do you have to say exactly? Why do you have to say that? So says the Gemara, says Rabbi Abahu, he comes and he tells us, you know why it says chavalot? Because it wants to exclude hodaot and halvaot that I don't need shlosha. Okay? Good. So far so good, right? Says the Gemara, wait a second. If it's just coming to exclude if it's just coming to and says the Gemara, so let's put it like this. If we say only mamonot in the Mishnah, if we say only dine mamonot and we don't go on to include gizelot and chavalot, I would think automatically that it includes also
everything,
which is hodaot and halvaot.
Yeah.
So therefore, we needed to say gizelot v'chavalot. So says the Gemara, wait a second. Why don't we only say gizelot v'chavalot, and we won't say dine mamonot? right? We just explained why if it says dine mamonot, it has to include gizelot v'chavalot. So says the Gemara, okay, fine, that I understand. If you say mamonot, you have to say the other two with you. But just say the other two and then you won't have to say mamonot.
Yeah, but then it's probably going to exclude something else.
So says the Gemara,
It's too restrictive. It's gonna,
no, it's not that it's too restrictive. Says the Gemara, even if I would only say those two, even if I would say only gizelot v'chavalot and not dine mamonot, I would still think to include hodaot and halvaot. Why? Because he says the only reason why again, this is a theory. The only reason why theoretically the Mishnah would say gizelot and chavalot is because gizelot and chavalot, we see the din of shlosha very clearly by those two cases, right? By gizelot we see the pasuk v'nikav balabayit Elohim, and chavalot from the concept that what difference would it make between bodily damage or monetary damage, right? And we know that again, a regular bedin also is always 3, right? So I would say that you know why the Mishnah said mamonot and gizelot and chavalot? Because those are the cases where we learn we need 3. But really, it includes all other cases. All monetary cases would be included in this, and that would also include hodaot and halvaot. Therefore, says Rabbi Abau, I needed to say dine mamonot and gizelot and chavalot to teach me that what? That there's other cases that are excluded. So far, so good?
Mm-hmm.
C'est bon?
Yep.
Okay. So, chavalot, mani chaval begufo, mani chaval b'mamonot. Tana, ma hen dine mamonot. Therefore, our Mishnah said, ma hen dine mamonot. What are dine mamonot? Gezelot v'chavalot. Aval hodaot v'halvaot, lo. Hodaot and halvaot are not going to be included in this. Okay, so that's what we explained so far, just up till now. Right? Says the Gemara, Vilemai. What is this coming exactly to include? What is this coming exactly to include? Inema. If you're going to say Dilo Bainan Shlosha, if you're going to say that Hodaot and Anvaot, you don't need to include 3 with them. Okay? V'ha'ama Rabbi Abau, Shnaim shedanu dine mamonot, L'divrei hakol en dinehem din. If you have 2 people that are doing dine mamonot, okay? If you have 2 people that are doing dine mamonot, the din is not a din, and the people can always come and say, I don't like this psak din, and then they can say, I am not listening to the psak din. Okay. So we see that you need 3. Ela delo ba'inan mumchin. So what is it coming to tell us? That you don't need to have a bedin mumche. What's bedin mumche? Bedin mumche
specialist of
is if you have dayanim that are special dayanim that have smicha for this concept for dine mamonot. Okay. So. So again, we're trying to figure out why are we excluding the halvaot. So we said, if it's to tell us that you can do it with 2, if it's to tell us that you can do it with 2, we know that with 2 it's not a din, right? And if it's going to be so you need 3. So what difference is it going to be from the regular dine mamonot or the gizelot and chavalot? Was it avec moi? Okay. So he says, "Ela delo ba'inan mumchin." So you don't need. We said so you don't need. So what is different by halvaot and hodaot from gizelot and chavalot? That we said that we're excluding it from the Mishnah. That we don't need it to be mumchin.
Which means that for gezelot ve'chavalot
you need mumchin.
C'est quoi mumchim? What is mumchim?
Mumchim, experts. Meaning that that they have smicha, that they have permission from.
So it's less people, but it's no.
No,
But
always
also,
it's going to be
also,
3.
also
It's actually
it's
more
gonna be-
people. Parce que
It's always gonna be
Gzerot et
three.
Chavalot, c'est plus, mais non, mais on a dit que les Odaot et les
No, that's what I
can be
said.
less.
No, that's what I
But
said.
less, but
as
mumchim
the-
people.
Non, Mumchin c'est pour Gzerot
Ah ouais?
Chavalot.
So the judges needs to be mumchim.
For Gzerot
Gzerot
and Chavalot,
and
But I
Chavalot
would,
they
I
need to
would
be
think that
mumchim.
if they're judges, they're already pros because
No,
they're
so we
judges.
know what's a bedin.
3 judges, 3 no?
3 people, right?
3 people.
When we do hatarat nedarim, we need a bedin,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what do? We just take 3 people and we
Yeah.
sit them down and we do the text in front of
Yeah.
them. We say they're bedin.
So they're not pros.
So
you're
that's
saying.
not mumchim.
I see. But if they last for Hodao, then they're gonna have to be pros.
So on the contrary, for halvaot you won't need. So we said all the way in the beginning.
So they're both not pros.
No.
Si, for Gzerot and Chavalot, they need to be.
We said for dine mamonot, which we explained, what is dine mamonot, gezerot and chavalot, you need 3, right? But for hodaot and halvaot, you don't need, right? Now, I said in the beginning, like for example, you can only have 1 instead. Now the Gemara is actually going to explain what is the real difference between the two of them. So the Gemara says, okay, wait a second. Maybe you won't need 3 for hodaot and halvaot. Okay, how much would you need? 2? Says the Gemara, you can't do that. Why? Because if it's 2, we know there's a concept that en dinehem din. It's not an actual psak din.
Okay.
Okay? So the Gemara says, okay, in that case, we're forced to say that even hodaot and halvaot, you need 3. But if you're saying by hodaot and halvaot you need 3,
What's the difference?
it's the same thing like gezelot and chavalot.
Yes.
So answers the Gemara that by gezelot v'chavalot you're going to need 3 mumchim. You're going to need 3 experts that have smicha, that have everything. But by hodaot and halvaot, you can have 3 that are not mumchim, that 3 random people that are coming like this.
Okay. So now we learn from this that the 3 judges they need to be mumchim.
Normally
Gzerot v'Chavalot.
for gzerot and chavalot, but for hodaot and halvaot, it's going to be okay even if they're not mumchim.
So, but it's still 3 now. We
It's
learned
still
that
gonna be
still
3.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
makes sense, parce que Gzerot v'Chavalot, Odaot
Halvaot.
והלוואות, t'as un shtar.
So it's not a shtar. It's not a shtar. It's with witnesses.
Ouais, mais il n'y a pas de nezek. Alors que dans l'autre cas, il y a un
Bien sûr, il
nezek.
y a un nezek.
Pas
He's admitting.
Pas comme dans Chavalot. Chavalot, c'est un vrai nezek.
Oui, but he's admitting and he's saying, hey, this guy, Reuven admits, he says in front of 2 witnesses, he says that he owes Shimon $100.
So that's what I'm saying. There's no
He admits
nezek more in a body injury.
So that's gonna be
here
the
you need them
difference.
to be mumchin.
And that's gonna be where the difference lies, because there's no actual real nezek that's going
That's what I'm
on.
saying.
That's where the difference is between the two of them.
Okay.
שניים שדנו דיני ממונות, הכל אין דיני מדין, אלא דלא בעניין המוחין. מה כסבה? So says the Gemara, why does he really hold that? ikasava iruv parashiyot kan. If you're saying that he holds that there's a combination of the parashiyot here, okay? So if you want to understand this a little bit better, let's look at Rashi, okay? Okay, so look at always up for Rashi. Look at the middle of the white lines. Ikasava iruv parashiyot ketiv kan. So he says, the ika leman de amar behagozel etzim. There's a man de amar. There's an opinion in hagozel etzim, which is in Bava Kama. שהפרשיות הכתובות באלו המשפטים מעורבבות. They are all mixed together. Okay? מעורבבות הן. שיש מקרא כתוב בפרשה זו, שאינו יכול לעמוד בה. אלא מפרשה אחרת. It's something that has to do with another parasha. כגון, אשר יאמר כי הוא זה. Okay? The pasuk that says, אשר יאמר כי הוא זה, ונקרב בעל הבית אל האלוהים. דיאלפינן מיני, מודה במקצת, הטענה יישבע. So from that pasuk, what do we learn? We learn that if there's a concept of modeh b'miktzat. What's modeh b'miktzat? If a person admits to partial blame, meaning Shimon is claiming Reuven owes him $1,000. Reuven says, no, I don't owe $1,000.
$400.
It's only going to be $400. So he says, you admitted in partial. Now you're going to have to make a shivua for the whole thing. Okay?
מודה במקצה?
Modeh b'miktzat. Modeh is admits, b'miktzat, partially. Shekatav b'shomel chinam, lav ashomel chinam ka'i. So the pasuk that teaches us this is in middle of shomel chinam, but it's not coming to teach me by shomel chinam. The shomel chinam, afar pi shelo hoda'a b'miktzat, chayavin li shava. Because the shomel chinam, even if there's no if there's no hoda'a b'miktzat, even if he doesn't admit partially, he still has to swear the whole thing. The hoda'a b'miktzat hata'ana parasha de'im kesef tarvik alei. Dehatam hu deba'inan hoda'a b'miktzat. So the concept of hoda'a b'miktzat, where is that really? By im kesef talvetami, by loans, right? By loans, if you admit partially, that's where you have to pay the whole thing. But where do we learn that concept from? We learn it from the concept that's written by Shomel Chinam. But Shomel Chinam, he doesn't have a concept of modeh b'miktzat. He automatically has to do this shivua. So we see that the concepts are mixed up. Why? Because the concept of modeh b'miktzat, where do we learn it from?
In one parasha. And
We learn it from Shomel Chinam. But where does it apply to? It only applies to im kesef tarvetami by halvaot. So we see that one has nothing to do with the other, but they're all mixed in together. Okay, so we say since they're all mixed in together, we learn different halachot from the different concepts. V'ila modeh klum chazaka im ta'anat hatovea emet lo haya yachol ze leha'iz panav negdo ולומר לא הלוויתיני, hilkach afilu shivua lo ba'i. Okay, so if by halva'a, if he completely denies it, right, a person is not going to have such big chutzpah to come and you lend him money. He's going to say, no, it wasn't anything, right? Okay, so therefore, that's why by halva'a, that's where the concept of modeh b'miktzat comes in. Because if he's going to completely deny, he's going to be completely patur. He's not going to have to. Aval bepikadon deleka geminut chasadim. By pikadon, by shomel chinam, over there, the guy didn't do any. Meaning, when the guy gave him the security, he didn't do him any favor, right? Or they gave him something to watch. Shomel chinam. Reuven gives Shimon something to watch, right? Did Shimon get any benefit from the fact that Reuven gave him something to watch for free? No, right?
He got a responsibility and nothing else.
He has the responsibility to watch over it. So over there, we're choshesh. Over there, we're afraid that maybe Shimon is going to come and deny the whole thing. Therefore, he's going to have to make a shivua if he denies it. Okay? But by halva'a, we're not afraid of that same concept. Why not? Why by halva'a, if a person denies the loan, does he not have to make a shivua?
Because of what Rashi just said, or not?
That what?
That he's not going to have the chutzpah to do that.
Exactly. So by halva'a, if he completely denies the loan, he's not going to have to make a shivua. Why? Because we're not choshesh that a person is going to have such big chutzpah to completely deny the loan. He just got a favor from the guy, and he's going to be so chatzuf and say, there was nothing. What is he going to do? He's going to say, I got it, but only a little bit.
In any case, you said there's no shtar, but there are edim. So if there's no shtar, but there are edim, the edim can testify of how much is the amount.
No, so again, that's two different things. We're that again. Hoda'a and halva'a is the what we were talking in the Gemara. I don't think is the same thing that the pasuk was talking about. The pasuk was talking about person
what
to
you're
person.
talking about right now, but he's not going to have the chutzpah.
That's only person to person, without shtar and without edim. If it's shtar and edim, we go with the shtar and the edim.
So they would do a loan without shtar and without edim.
Yeah. But that's what the Gemara says. The Gemara goes on and says you should never do something like that.
You should never do something like that?
The Gemara says you should never do a halva'a.
Even if you're close to the person.
What?
Even if you're close to the person.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the Gemara says that even there was, I forgot which Rav it was, that there was another Rav that wanted to test him, so he came to him and he asked him for a loan, right? And he said, okay, let's make a shtar nedim. He's like, so the first Rav, he's like, what? What, you don't trust me? He's like, no, it's not that I don't trust you, it's that I don't want you to be over on lifnei iver lo titen michshol. Right? I don't want to be over on lifnei iver lo titen michshol. Because why? Because if you give
You're giving him an excuse,
you give him
a temptation.
you give him a loan without edim, without anything like that, right? So now a person has a
temptation.
Exactly. He has a possibility of saying, no, I didn't. There was nothing. It didn't exist ever.
So what's the link with Lifnei Iver?
Because now he's going to be over, not paying back.
Tu lui donnes l'ouverture.
You're giving him the possibility to deny the whole thing. Right? So this was two Rabbanim between themselves. And then he told him, I was just testing you. But the concept is that you're not supposed to do that. But if you do that, that's what the Pasuk was dealing with, right? And our Gemara wasn't really talking about that. Our Gemara was talking, when we said Hoda'ot and Alva'ot, it was when there was two witnesses. And for that, we still need the Bedin of 3, but we don't need Mumchim. Okay? So we're saying, how does that whole thing come into play? How does that whole concept come into play? Because we say that Iruv parashiot ketuv kan. Okay, so that all the parashiot were mixed in together. So in this case, we see that you should need 3. Okay, so we're going to go back to the Gemara. We didn't finish completely the Rashi. Let's finish the Rashi. V'kofer hakol v'bai shvua. V'hai tana dematnitin is v'alei. Okay, so v'hai tana dematnitin, and this is going to explain that. V'hai tana dematnitin, and our tana of our Mishnah, is v'alei nami, if he's going to also hold the hai asher yomar ki huzeh, the pasuk of asher yomar ki huzeh, b'halva'a mishtai, it's talking about for halvaot, and not for shomel chinam, where it's actually written, harei ne'emar Elohim. It says over there, the concept of Elohim, which is judges, okay, behaika demashma mumchim, and from there it sounds like you need mumchim. Lashon tzrara v'rabanut, k'demetargimina ne'enetaticha Elohim leparo. Right? What's when it says ne'enetaticha Elohim leparo? From here we see Elohim means judges, right? Not God. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu can't tell Moshe Rabbeinu that he's putting him a God over Paro. Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Re'en etaticha Elohim leparo. So, what does that mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that he's putting Moshe Rabbeinu a God over Paro? Impossible. Right? So what is he putting Moshe Rabbeinu over Paro? A judge. Right? Lashon Rabbanan v'libai mumchin. Okay? So he says. So go back to the Mishnah. So he says, "Ika savar eruve parashiot kan." If you say that there's a mix-up of the parashiot, meaning that the pasuk of v'nikrav balabait el ha'elohim, which we said was talking about,
Judge. Not the judge. The
gezelot. Okay, we said it was talking about gezelot, right? And we said that really it has to do with this pasuk. It had to do with really halvaot.
Yes.
Right? It had to do with halvaot. So if you're going to say that the pasukim were mixed together and we're really learning this pasuk to something else, so by halvaot you should really need mumchim. Because if we're saying that this pasuk is really for halvaot, that means for halvaot you should need mumchim. No, I know. I understand. Okay.
See, what is it? The same thing that was said already. That we need 3 mumchim by halvaot.
So again, when we were looking at Rashi, what did Rashi explain
The
us?
two concepts were mixed into two.
What were the two concepts?
Yeah, with
There was one
Imkesef
concept.
Talveh.
There was one concept of Shomel Chinam,
Shomer Chinam and Imkesef Talveh.
and what's the pasuk of Shomel Chinam? Okay, the pasuk that comes right after V'nikrav balabait el ha'elohim. Okay, so this is written by what? This is written by Shomel Chinam. And that's where we learned Gezelot. Again, when we use the pasuk Gezelot, what was the pasuk that the Gemara brought down?
Gezelot.
If you want to understand it a little bit better, look at the psukim on the side of the Gemara. Okay? Im lo yimatze haganav v'nikrav ba'al habayit el ha'elohim. Im lo shalach yado b'mlechet re'ehu. Right? What's the pasuk right after that in the Torah? It's right after that in the Torah. Al kol davar pesha, al shor, al chamor, aseh, al sama, al kol aveda, asher yomar ki uzeh, ad ha'elohim yavo devar shenem, asher yashin Elohim yishalem shenayim le're'ehu. Okay? So now, the pasuk that we learned, Gezelot, in the Gemara, that we need shlosha. Where was this pasuk written? By the Shomel Chinam. Right? The Shomel Chinam. Now, Rashi says, when we're talking about the Eruve parashiyot, that we mix up the parashiyot and that we're learning really one halacha that's written here and somewhere completely else. Okay? What does he learn? He says, the concept of modeh b'miktzat. The concept of modeh b'miktzat. Where do we learn that from?
From halvaot, from im kesef talveh.
Only by halvaot, meaning the concept of modeh b'miktzat only exists by halvaot.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, but where is that pasuk written that teaches me that modeh b'miktzat?
Im kesef talveh.
No, it's written by Shomel Chinam. Okay, so the concept of modeh b'miktzat only exists. The concept of modeh b'miktzat only exists by halva'ah. But where is it written?
B'shomel chinam.
By Shomel Chinam. Okay, so even though it's written by Shomel Chinam, it really only applies to halva'ot. That's what we call eruve parashiyot. That the parasha that's written over here really only applies to somewhere else. Okay, but the problem with that is or not the problem. If you're going to say something like that, then we also have a similar problem. Why? Because by us, we are bringing the pasuk of Gezelot that needs shlosha mumchim. Where is that pasuk written?
Somewhere else.
By Shomel Chinam. Right? But where does that pasuk really only apply to? By halva'ot. No?
Okay.
Le dernier point, the last one that you just said. Okay, we understand that.
By the Eruve parashiyot of modeh b'miktzat. What happened? We had a pasuk that was written by Shomel Chinam, but it really only applies to halva'ot. Now, if you're going to say that, then the pasuk that we are using for the pasuk that we are using to teach me Gezelot needs shlosha mumchim, where is it written? By Shomel Chinam, by Gezelot, by the Gezelah of Shomel Chinam. But we just said that the pasuk of Shomel Chinam is really only to teach me halacha that is where? By halva'ah. So if by Shomel Chinam over there that pasuk says that we need 3 mumchim,
it's in halvaot.
Okay, but it really only applies to halvaot. So that means by halvaot we're also going to need shlosha mumchim. Oui? That makes sense?
Yeah.
So again, what did we just try saying? The Gemara goes back and says, wait a second. Okay, we understand that we said dine mamonot, and dine mamonot was for what? Was to teach us that you need 3. And then we went on and we said Gezelot and Chavalot to teach me what? Gezelot and Chavalot need 3, but Hodaot and Halvaot maybe don't need 3. Then we said no, they need 3, but the difference is going to be we don't need mumchim. So says the Gemara, wait a second. Let's try to get these things straight. If you're going to tell me that we learn the concept of Eruve parashiyot, that we mix the 2 parashiyot together, then even halvaot are going to need 3 mumchim. right? Because we saw the whole concept of Iruve Parashiyot was that there was a pasuk written by a pasuk written by Gezelot, which was Shomer Chinam, and then it only applies to Halva'a. And over there we said, and over there was the whole concept that we needed 3 mumchim.
So that means for Halvaot you need.
So that means for Halvaot you're going to need 3 mumchim. So that means that we're still going to be in a little bit of a problem of the Mishnah. Why did the Mishnah make a differentiation between the two? Because over here we see that on the contrary, we still need Shlosha mumchim. Right? So it says the Gemara, my kasavar, ikasavar eruve parashiyot katuv kan libai nami mumchin. We should still need the mumchin. Ve'ikasavar, and if you're going to hold en eruv parashiyot katuv kan shlosha lamali, why do I need 3 at all? Right? By im kesef talve ami, there's no concept over there of judges. But when it says loaning, it doesn't say any concept of judges. So we should need maybe only even, like we were saying, maybe even only 1 can be enough. Or 2 can be enough. So what is it? If we need 3, it sounds like we need Shlosha Mumchim. And if we don't need Shlosha Mumchim, because we're not learning Iruvaya Parashiyot, then even 1 should only be enough. Right? So it says the Gemara, Le'olam kasavar, really he holds Iruv Parashiyot katuv kan. Uvdinhu. Okay? It's a din that what? Diribai nami mumchin. That we need Shlosha mumchim. Why?
Meaning gam for Halvaot.
No, so that halvaot normally we should also need 3. So we just said exactly. We just said that if you're learning Iruve Parashiyot, that the Parashiyot were mixed up in between, then you're going to need also by Halvaot, you're going to need 3 mumchin. Yes. Answers the Gemara, you're right. You're right. Normally speaking, by Halvaot, we should also have 3 mumchin. So, if so, then what's happening in the Mishnah? Says the Gemara, no. Normally we would need Shlosha Mumchim, but Chachamim came and said that for Halvaot and Hodaot you don't need Shlosha Mumchim. So even though from the Psukim, from the way we learn the Psukim, you should need Shlosha Mumchim, Chachamim came along and said that you don't need to have Shlosha Mumchim.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Understood?
They made a call that you don't need to need.
Why don't we need Shlosha Mumchim? De Amar Rabbi Chanina, Dvar Torah, Echad Dine Mamonot, Ve'echad Dine Nefashot, B'dirisha V'chakira. From the Torah, we know that you have to have, when either Dine Nefashot or Dine Mamonot, whether it's going to be life and death sentences or monetary sentences, we must cross-examine the Edim back, forth, go crazy and really try to figure this out. Shneimar, Mishpat Echad Yelachem. The Torah says it's going to be Mishpat Echad, one judgment. What's the reason why we said by Dine Mamonot, Lo Ba'ina Drisha V'chakira, we don't need to go crazy with the Edim, Kedeh Shelot in all Delet Bifnei Lovin, so that we shouldn't lock the door in front of lenders, right? A lender, what is going to happen? He's going to say, wait a second, I'm going to lend money. And then what's going to happen? They're going to drive me insane to get me my money back. No, Toda, no thank you. Yeah. I'm not going to give. But the Torah wants you to give your money, to lend your money. So the Chachamim made it easier for the lenders, meaning they gave more credibility to the lenders so that people should be able to continue lending money to people. Amen. Amen.